I'm a deep-sea researcher. What we discovered at 3 a.m. will haunt you forever. Deep below the surface, where sunlight shies away and shadows dance, something waited. The midnight hour ticked slowly, marking time in an abyss that swallowed sound, light, and even hope. We were aboard the Nautilus, a state-of-the-art submersible, armed with curious minds and a determination that often flirted with madness. As we descended, the numbers on the gauge hit the 3,000-foot mark. That's when the shadows began to flicker and transform. Something was wrong. My heart thudded in my chest, an echo drowning out the hum of the engines. The water felt heavier here, almost suffocating. That's when we first spotted it, a silhouette, moving against the dark. Was it just the current playing tricks, or something far more sinister? We leaned closer to the screen, breath suspended. It was massive, gliding through the sapphire depths with a grace that seemed unnatural. A creature crafted from nightmares, with glistening scales that shimmered like shards of glass. Did you see that? My colleague, Jenna, whispered, her voice trembling as she leaned in. I could feel the weight of her fear while the rest of the crew held their breaths, caught in a web of wonder and dread. Some murmured in disbelief, while others started scribbling notes, oblivious to the panic rising like bile in my throat. I focused on the monitor, straining to follow the creature as it slipped into darkness, leaving ripples in the water, a mere suggestion of its presence. Just as clarity settled in, we caught our breath and shared glances. Was it time to pull back? As if sensing our hesitation, the ocean erupted into chaos. Silence shattered like glass. A deafening bang echoed against the hull. Something had collided with us. Our sub lurched violently, throwing us against the reinforced seats. I felt a jolt, like a lightning strike straight through my veins. My heart raced, desperate for escape, while our serene mission spiraled into confusion. Everyone, check systems. The captain's voice sliced through the chaos. His tone demanded obedience, and yet, uncertainty tangled in my stomach. I glanced at Jenna, who had gone pale, her hands trembling. All the data we collected suddenly felt like a deceptive veil hiding something monstrous. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As my pulse gradually steadied, we glanced back at the screens. What we saw sent chills down our spines. The creature was no longer just a shadow. It was circling us now, and its eyes, if you could even call them that, glowed, almost beckoning. I felt a chill creep up my spine, a tightness in my throat, like it knew we were here, peering into its world. Whatever this thing was, it was more than just a biological wonder. It felt conscious, calculating. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. Suddenly, we were engulfed in a shroud of darkness as the power surged and sputtered. My heart dropped. Silence weighed heavy, broken only by the distant, haunting calls echoing through the water. What came next would change everything. Would we uncover what lay beneath the surface, or would we be the next ones to join the legends of the deep? We braced for the unknown, yet part of me felt a strange pull, a sense of urgency to know. The question loomed over us thick and terrifying. What on earth were we really searching for? The darkness swallowed us whole. In an instant, the familiar glow of the instruments vanished. The Nautilus was a coffin at the bottom of the sea, and a deep sense of helplessness curled around my heart like a vice. Jenna's breath hitched beside me. I could hear the sharp intake, the way it trembled, mirroring my own racing pulse. Stay calm, the captain barked, but his voice felt distant, as if it was lost in the swirling waters outside. Fix the lights. We scrambled, fumbling with the controls. I kept glancing at the view screens, all black, a void that held no answers, only unanswered questions. I could feel the panic rising, thick and suffocating. Then a flicker, just a hint of light, broke through the oppressive dark. We dropped our gaze, hearts pounding as we searched the screens, yearning for clarity, for assurance. It was then in that narrow beam that we saw it again. The creature, no longer just a silhouette, but disturbingly closer, hovering like a specter just out of reach. Those glowing eyes pierced through the gloom, their light dancing like fireflies in the night. "What is that thing?" someone murmured, eyes wide with terror. I wanted to scream that I didn't know. All I could think was how that gaze felt like it was digging through my soul, rattling all my fears. Power surged back in a blinding moment. Clusters of lights flickered on, bathing the interior in a sterile white glow. Our breaths caught, and we let out shaky exhalations, but my relief was short-lived. On the screens, a mass of swirling water indicated movement pulsing, rising like a wave, almost as if the ocean itself were alive. "Get us out of here," Jenna shouted, her urgency palpable. The captain's face turned grave. "We can't ascend without navigating through this chaos. Our systems still need recovery." The water outside churned and bubbled. Suddenly, everything erupted. A rushing wave slammed against the hull, too fast, too powerful. The lights flickered again, and I braced myself against my chair, feeling the descent into turmoil. The depth gauge scrambled, fluctuating wildly. For 1,000 feet, 5,000, we were spiraling downwards into the heart of an unseen storm. "Engage emergency thrusters," the captain commanded, his voice cracking. I couldn't help but glance out the viewport, where dark shadows twisted, thrashing against the submersible's glass. Was it the creature? Were there more? Something pulling us down. Imogen, our engineer, gasped, her fingers flying over the controls, but the systems flashed red warnings. The sub was no longer obedient to our will. In a moment, my mind spun with the realization that whatever was in the water, it had an undeniable power over us. Amidst the chaos, a low growl reverberated, not from the creature, but from deep within the ocean itself. The sound cut through my thoughts, primal, echoing with a knowing, ancient resonance. It sent shivers racing down my spine. The lights buzzed, flickering erratically as the sub twisted violently. "What the hell is happening?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. With the instruments failing, I felt trapped between the raw terror outside and the disarray within. Then a final, bone-shaking thud rocked the hull, and everything went still. The lights blinked out once more, and we were left shrouded in darkness, with only the sound of our racing hearts to accompany us. We were lost, caught in a maelstrom of fear and confusion, and all I could think was, what was waiting for us beyond the glass? The question lingered in the dark, taunting us, stirring something primal within. Would we discover the answers lurking in the abyss, or were we destined to become part of the shadows that haunted these depths? The silence was a deep weight pressing down on us, an oppressive shroud that seemed to cling to my skin. My breathing quickened as my eyes adjusted, searching the void that surrounded our vessel. I could hear the quiet whimpers of my companions, blending with the occasional crackle of static from the now lifeless control panel. Are we dead?" Jenna's voice trembled, slicing through the stifling stillness, and it rattled me to my core. I wanted to say no, to offer a glimmer of hope, but the reality felt far more sinister. Just then, a pulse of bioluminescence lit the space outside our viewport, setting our faces aglow. The haunting shadows danced in the distorted light, and for a terrifying moment, I thought it was our creature, a flash of its eerie glow now a part of our very environment. Instead, it was something else entirely. The water surged with energy, throbbing in rhythmic waves, creating a haunting melody that echoed through the metal skin of the Nautilus. My fingers trembled as I gripped the edge of my seat, drawn toward the strange spectacle outside. "Look!" I shouted, urgency spilling from my lips. The others turned, drawn toward the eerie light, their fear momentarily replaced with curiosity. Rocking in unison, like a choir responding to an unseen conductor, the organisms revealed themselves. A school of luminescent creatures, their bodies shimmering like floating stars, drifted past the viewport. They moved in mesmerizing patterns, illuminating the dark depths with their ethereal glow. But among them, I could still see the lurking shadow, the creature lingering just beyond the peripheral glow. "Is it friendly?" Imogen whispered, her wide eyes filling with a strange mixture of awe and dread. "Fairy tales and science don't mix well in the deep," the captain barked. "Focus on getting us out of here." But then, it happened again. The hum of the ocean seemed to swell, resonating deeply. The glass of the viewport vibrated, sending shockwaves through my chest. Another growl, louder this time. It reverberated through my body, and I felt it in my bones. It radiated pure menace, the sound of something ancient and powerful awakening. That thing is definitely not friendly, I choked out, fear lacing every syllable. The shimmering curtain of light was now accompanied by flashes of terrible shadow moving through the darkness, suggesting dimensions to horrors that lay beyond our comprehension. Desperation seeped in as I fixated on the control panel. If we could just find a way to restore power, if we could just climb out of this tumult, then maybe we could escape the unrelenting terror surrounding us. I'm trying to reboot the systems. Imogen's fingers flew across the dead control panel, but the screens remained black. My heart sank as I recognized the futility in our situation. Hang tight, the captain said, a brave front masking his fear. And then we felt it, a powerful tug, pulling the Nautilus deeper into the maw of the darkness. The creature was drawing us in. Panic surged through our ranks, and I watched faces pale in disbelief. Hold on to something, I yelled, but the lights flickered back on just as swiftly as they had failed. We found ourselves surrounded by an otherworldly landscape, pulsating with lights and shadows that whispered secrets of the abyss. But it was the creature I feared. Its eyes now seemed to float closer, glimmering with intent as if it was no longer just observing us. It was plotting. Is it watching us? Jenna mouthed silently, terror replaying across her face. The answer lurked in the shadows, waiting, calculating. But as I looked back into those glowing orbs, I felt the chill of a question rise. What did it want from us? Before I could voice my fear, the Nautilus lurched violently, slamming us against our restraints. I gasped, painfully aware of our precarious situation as the lights dimmed once again and the echo of our heartbeats filled the claustrophobic space. The depths weren't just indifferent. Something within them craved something from us, and time was running out. What would the ocean reveal? Next, answers, or our doom? The darkness swallowed us. It felt heavier now, stifling. The hum that echoed through the Nautilus intensified, a low rumble, like the growling stomach of some hidden beast. I couldn't shake the sensation that it was alive, that it knew exactly what was happening inside our trembling vessel. Is this it? Imogen's voice echoed, fragile against the vast emptiness. I turned to face her, only to find her eyes wide with fear, not just for ourselves, but for what we might soon become. I wished I could reach out and assure her it would be all right, but my own heart churned with doubt. The lights flickered once again, illuminating distorted faces around me, faces that mirrored my own dread. Then, the ship stirred violently, shaking us as if caught in the grip of an unseen giant. The viewport revealed flashes of chaotic brilliance outside, as if the ocean were alive with wild sparks. It's too strong, the captain shouted, gripping the control panel as if it would somehow grant him power over this nightmare. With a wrenching twist, the Nautilus plunged deeper into the abyss. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me as the pressure increased. The world outside twisted and writhed in grotesque motions. Creatures flickered in and out of view, their glowing bodies leaving trails of light that entwined with the shadows. It was as if they were conducting an eerie ballet in tribute to our impending doom. Suddenly, the growl returned, deeper and more resonant, vibrating through the hull of the ship. It shook my bones, igniting a primal fear that made me want to scream. What the hell is happening? I yelled, my voice sharp against the pulsating chaos. Stay calm, the captain barked, but his own voice wavered. We can't let it. The ship was abruptly thrust sideways, as if it had encountered an invisible wall. I slammed into my seat, breath knocked out of me, and Jenna screamed beside me, all sounds melding into one chaotic noise. I grasped the armrest, fighting back the panic that threatened to swallow me whole. We need to understand it. Whatever it is, we need to know. My voice trembled, uncertainty leaking through the cracks. But even I wondered, was understanding it worth our lives? Then, as if sensing our collective despair, the ocean exploded with light yet again, casting away the shadows for a brief moment. I squinted into the bright, blinding shimmer, and then I saw it, an enormous figure, gliding gracefully through the water, its body shrouded in luminescent filaments. It moved with purpose, as if it could sense our fear and reveled in it. Is that the creature? Jenna gasped, clutching my arm. I couldn't find the words to answer. My throat felt tight. I stared, mesmerized and horrified. The creature paused, its dreadful eyes fixing on the Nautilus, contemplating us like prey. Just then, the buzzing sensation intensified, shaking the ship to its core. What does it want? Imogen whispered, her breath shaky. With newfound resolve, the captain leaned toward the panel again, his brow slick with sweat. Whatever it is, we'll find out. We need to. Before he could finish, the lights dimmed completely and silence enveloped us. I strained my ears, heart pounding like a war drum. The absence of sound was louder than the growl. My stomach dropped as I realized the ominous voice of the depths had ceased, and then came the chilling realization. Silence can be far more dangerous than any roar. That we were utterly alone, and whatever had stirred in the darkness had now turned its full attention toward us. What thoughts lurked behind those watchful eyes? What next step would seal our fate? The oppressive silence hung in the air, thick and suffocating. I could feel the tension vibrating through the walls of the Nautilus, each heartbeat resonating against the metal like a drum echoing in a vast chasm. Fear gripped me in its icy fingers, freezing all rational thoughts. What now? The dim emergency lights flickered back to life, casting eerie shadows that twisted and danced across the walls of the control room. Jenna's breath came in short gasps, her eyes darting around as if they could catch the invisible danger lurking outside. Imogen was next to me, her face pale, reflecting the uncertainty that held us captive. What if it's waiting for us to make a move? She whispered, her voice barely above a breath. The thought shot through me like a lightning bolt. Before I could respond, the ship shuddered violently again, throwing us against our seats. The control panel beeped erratically, and the captain swiftly regained his grip on the controls, fighting to steady the Nautilus amid the tempest of darkness. I don't think it's just waiting, he muttered, his voice strained. It's hunting. The realization dawned like a dark cloud, casting a pall over all of us. Our eyes locked onto the viewport again. The luminous figure we had glimpsed before remained near, its presence looming larger with each passing moment. I could feel the weight of its gaze penetrating through the glass, unsettling my very core. Then, as if answering our thoughts, the creature surged forward, its brilliant body illuminating the ocean around us. Suddenly, I was captivated, the fear subsiding just enough to let wonder in. It glided gracefully, a mixture of beauty and terror, the fine filaments of light pulsing in dynamic rhythm. It was an illusionary seduction beneath the waves. It's beautiful, I breathed, lost for a moment in its magnificence. Beautiful? Imogen scoffed, a tremor in her voice. It's a monster. But was it a monster? Were we the real intruders here, disturbing a realm that had been perfectly untouched? I felt my thoughts spiraling into a moral dilemma. The very essence of our humanity clashed with the primal instinct of survival. Just as I was about to voice my thoughts, the lights flickered, and the humming began to return, louder and more insistent than before, a cacophony that felt almost alive. It reverberated through the ship, vibrating my bones, and drowned my words. An emotional surge coursed through me, pushing against the walls of my chest. The captain's expression hardened, fear turning to resolve. Whatever it is, it's communicating. But what did that communication mean? Would we be met with wrath, or had we stumbled upon something yearning for connection? The Nautilus shook once more, this time with a force that sent alarms blaring. I can't keep holding it at bay like this, the captain exclaimed, frantically adjusting controls, battling the rising tide of chaos. Then, without warning, the viewport shattered, sending shards of glass cascading into the control room. The creature surged closer, a vortex of light and shadow, as if drawn to the commotion. The reality around us twisted in a terrifying dance of desperation. I was shaking as I looked at my crew. We were teetering on the brink of understanding, of terror, of despair. Get us out of here, Jenna shouted, panic clawing at her voice. In that split second, the door behind us exploded inward, water rushing in like a violent tide. The panic surged anew, and grappling for survival, screams filled the room, muffled through the rush of water. What moments slipped away, and who would emerge when the roiling darkness calmed? As the ship tilted, our fates hung in the balance, and I was left with one chilling uncertainty. What if survival wasn't the answer we sought, but rather understanding the primal depths of creation? The creature loomed ever closer, and as reality blurred and darkened around me, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay beyond those luminous eyes held the key to our fate. Would we confront it, or drown in our own fears? Water rushed in, dark and fierce, consuming us in an instant. A cold wave surged over my head, and my heart pounded in my chest like a desperate drum. I fought against the surge, instinctively reaching for Imogen. Her blue eyes met mine, wide with terror, bubbles escaping her lips in silent screams. Above, the captain shouted, voice muffled in the torrent. "We have to get to the upper deck." Jenna was already moving, pulling herself toward the hatch, her expression a mix of determination and sheer panic. I kicked off the floor, propelling myself toward her, struggling to stay afloat as the icy water clawed at my skin. The air pocket was diminishing, and time felt like quicksand slipping through our fingers. The ship shuddered again, this time more violently, and I could hear a low rumble, an engine struggling to cling to life. I dared a glance back at the viewport, where the luminous creature swirled, its vibrant lights dancing amid the chaos, as if it thrived on our fear. "Go," I barked at Jenna. "Get out now." She clambered through the hatch, and I followed closely, water rushing behind us like an angry beast demanding to claim its prey. I gripped the edge of the hatch with trembling fingers, the cold striking through my bones. Imogen was right behind me, her breath coming out in sharp bursts, fear etched on her face. We scrambled up the narrow stairwell, hands grasping at the slick metal. The water came in waves around us, and each lurch sent new terror through my heart. Was the creature truly a threat, or simply a response to our presence, an unintended consequence of our intrusion? Emerging onto the upper deck was like stepping into another world. The storm raged above us, rain pelting down in sheets, drenching everything in sight. The wind howled, but it felt like a release compared to the weight of the water below. I looked back, expecting the creature to follow, but it lingered, silhouetted against the obsidian depths, swirling around the wreckage of our shattered viewport. "Where's the captain?" Jenna's voice broke the chaos, pulling me into the present. Panic laced her words, and for the first time, I felt the reality of our situation creep in. "Here." The captain emerged from behind the command console, drenched but determined. "We need to secure the hatch and seal off the lower decks. I don't know what that thing is, but it's not just a creature, it's manipulating this environment. We have to get out of here," Imogen insisted, her eyes darting to the water creeping up the stairwell, anxious to reclaim what it had lost. "Wait," I shouted, holding up a hand. A thought, urgent and bright, ignited in my mind. If this creature is trying to communicate, what if it has answers? Answers? The captain scoffed, shaking his head. "These waters are alive with danger. We can't afford to play diplomat with a monster." But what if I started? But then a loud thud shook the deck. We turned to find a mass of dark water thrashing violently against the ship, pulling at it, tangling and wrapping around the hull like monstrous tentacles. The creature was drawing closer. "Get to the emergency raft," the captain shouted, moving with urgency as he shoved Jenna toward the edge. That my chest tightened as I stared into the depths below. Maybe it's trying to help us, to guide us, or drown us. Jenna screamed as the ship lurched once more. This is madness. In that moment, time fractured. I could feel something, an impulse, a connection. What if this creature was more than just a horror lurking in the depths? What if its existence intertwined with ours far deeper than we ever understood? The need to know burned brighter than my fear, and my feet carried me toward the edge where the water rolled almost invitingly. "Wait," I shouted, a desperate plea echoing into the storm. But it was too late. My balance slipped as I lost my grip on the chaos around me. My heart quickened as I fell. But just before I was swallowed, something wrapped around me, not a hand, but tendrils of glowing light. In that fractured moment, everything erupted into stars. I heard the screams of my crew, felt the metal groan, but above it all was a whisper, the one thing I hadn't anticipated, a name, my name, carried softly within the tidal force. And as I plunged deeper into the unknown, I knew the hunt hadn't just begun. It had transformed into something incomprehensible. What awaited me below, and would I be able to unravel the truth before it consumed us all? I plunged into the abyss, weightless and engulfed in a whirl of darkness. The cold seared through my skin, but the tendrils around me pulsed with a warmth that wrapped me in a strange embrace. I was immersed in a world where light danced in fragmented beams, illuminating the sinuous forms darting past me, their bodies aglow with iridescent colors. In that cacophony of emotions, fear, confusion, and an inexplicable sense of belonging, I felt a flicker of connection. The sensation coursed through me, a reminder that I was still alive, even here in the depths of despair. But amid the enchantment, a creeping dread slithered into my thoughts. Was this truly salvation, or had I sealed my fate? The whispers grew stronger, echoing through the water, reverberating against the bone of my skull. My name. How could it know my name? It was both haunting and alluring, drawing me deeper, urging me to listen. I reached out instinctively, fingers grazing the tendrils that enveloped me. A jolt surged through my body, visions flashed in my mind, vivid and wild, that I saw our ship. I saw Jenna, Imogen, and the captain on the deck, their faces contorted in fear and despair. My heart squeezed painfully in my chest as I realized I had left them behind. My crew. I was no longer just a researcher aboard a vessel. I was now part of something larger, something unfathomable. That a movement in the dark caught my eye, a looming figure below, gliding effortlessly through the water. The creature was vast, its body shimmering with a multitude of colors, shifting between shades of black and blue. It was beautiful, yet terrifying, and as it turned to face me, its multitude of eyes blinked in unison, sending cascades of light swirling through the ocean. It was like looking into the void and seeing a reflection of my own soul. "Help," I whispered, the word escaping like a breath, barely audible in the ocean's roar. The tendrils tightened, pulling me closer to the creature, a response to my plea. Suddenly, the entity surged forward, and I was swept into a whirlpool of sensations. Images flooded my consciousness, memories of the ocean floor, of shipwrecks and lost souls, of secrets buried beneath layers of sediment. I felt the weight of the ocean's history, the stories hidden within its depths. It was overwhelming, an ancient echo of life and death that threatened to swallow me whole. No, I thrashed against the pulls of the currents. I don't want this. I want to go back. But the creature was relentless, overpowering my will as it plunged deeper into the shadows. Just as the pressure became unbearable, I felt a flicker of hope. A vision of Jenna flashed through my mind, her resolute spirit, determination blazing in her eyes. I fought against the depths, forcing my way back to the surface, searching for the light. But just then, a thunderous sound enveloped me. The ocean trembled, and panic erupted within me. Had my crew survived? Were they still on the ship? Or had the darkness claimed them as well? As chaos reigned, the connection between me and the creature tightened, binding me in an inexplicable bond. It was then, as I struggled to escape, that I realized the truth. I wasn't the only one trapped here. There were others, ghostly figures drifting in the shadows, bound to this creature as I was. Fear clawed at me, but alongside it came a burning determination. I had to understand. I had to break both our chains, or I would be lost among the forgotten. The abyss tightened its grip. A surge of adrenaline propelled me forward. I was ready to confront whatever waited between the worlds. But what would I learn? And would it be enough to save us all? What terrifying truth lined the ocean floor, ready to turn the tide? I was falling through darkness, my mind racing with thoughts of my crew. Jenna, Imogen, the captain, had they survived the chaos above? With great effort, I clawed against the pull of the creature surrounding me. The whispers grew louder, morphing into a menacing chorus that blended together in a chilling symphony. "Join us," they urged, wrapping around my consciousness like a heavy fog. I shook my head, driven by instinct rather than reason. I wasn't ready to surrender. I gasped, sensation erupting across my skin, the coldness biting into my flesh, the warmth of the tendrils still a stark contrast. I kept fighting, desperate for the surface. Then a flicker of movement caught my eye, a trilling light radiated from a figure floating nearby. It was human, but something ethereal radiated from it, illuminating the shadows with ghostly hues. Their face twinkled like shards of glass, caught between worlds. I squinted, trying to see more clearly. Recognition struck like a lightning bolt, one of the lost souls. Help, I stammered, reaching out. Don't, they shouted, a sound that mingled with the nighttime sea, but their voice echoed in my mind. It will take you. The warning struck me to my core. I hesitated, suddenly acutely aware of the tendrils snaking tighter around me, feeding off my fear. The haunting shape of the freed soul faded into darkness as a spasm of terror surged through me. No, I couldn't be trapped here. I turned my gaze back to the looming creature, its eyes now fixated on me. There was an uncanny intelligence behind that dazzling surface. Was it aware of my struggle? It glided closer, the colors illuminating my surroundings with an almost hypnotic charm. Was this a guardian or a jailer? I closed my eyes, blocking out the glow for a moment, focusing instead on my breath. Each inhale tasted of salt and desperation. I thought of Jenna again, how tirelessly she fought for the crew, always searching for the right path, even when hope seemed lost. With her resilience as my anchor, I pushed against the currents, kicking and flailing with renewed vigor. A sharp pain sliced through my arm. The tendrils, no longer warm, dug in like icy fingers. I felt something shift in the water, a sudden rush, and in that split second of chaos, the creature erupted with explosive energy, sending shimmers cascading in every direction. The pressure around me released just enough, and I surged forward, claws scraping against the ocean floor. The ghostly figures flailed and writhed, their faces twisted in a silent scream, urging me to pay attention to their fate. I could feel their despair seeping into my veins, mingling with my own. Was that going to be me too? Just another lost soul drifting into none? No. As I broke the surface energy of the creature, light enveloped me, a blinding burst from the above, illuminating the depths as if thrown by a celestial hand. I shot upward, pushing through layers of dark and fear with everything I had. But then, just as hope began to bloom, I saw the ship's shadow looming above me. But it was more than just shadows. It was surrounded by remnants of destruction, wreckage floating like memories lost at sea. Had they made it out? Or was I the last of my crew left? Just then, something cold latched around my ankle, yanking me back down into the depths. The tendrils coiled tighter, and panic flooded my chest. I felt the pressure, so much pressure. I screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the engulfing darkness. Now as I spiraled deeper, I questioned everything. What lay ahead, and who else would I lose? I had reached a fork in the sea, and each path carried a weight heavy with unknowns. And in that restless clutch of restraints, I realized the terrible truth. If I didn't find a way to escape this dark world, the whispers would silence my voice forever. What awaited me below? Life, or a fate worse than death? The darkness clung to me, an oppressive presence that swallowed any sliver of hope. My heart raced as I was dragged deeper, each violent tug of the tendrils tightening my chest. The cold seeped into my bones, and I gasped for air that was not there, like a fish caught on dry land. As I fought against the pull, I thrashed wildly, desperation fueling my movements. Panic surged, but I couldn't yield. I couldn't allow myself to fade into those whispers. Not when so much was at stake. Then, I saw it again, the shimmering figure, flickering like a faulty light bulb in the depths. My mind raced. Was it the same soul who had warned me, or another? Help me, I shouted, but my voice was drowned out by the monster's infernal whispers. They are coming for you. It will take you. The figure screamed, its face morphing in agony. I blinked, maintaining eye contact, my instincts screaming. Who's coming? But the figure dissolved into a cloud of bubbles, leaving just despair in its wake. I turned my focus back to the world around me, to the creature. It hovered closer, its eyes like lanterns penetrating the gloom. The colors emanating from it pulsed, a strange, prismatic glow that flickered in time with my heartbeat. Focus, I shouted to myself. I couldn't afford to lose it. I wedged my hands into the tendrils around my ankle, gripping one tightly. The moment I grasped it, a surge of electric energy coursed through me. I squeezed, yanking the icy tendril with all my might, and bit by bit, it began to loosen. With a mighty heave, I freed my leg. But the victory was short-lived as the creature responded, the surge of light around its form intensifying, curling and twisting like smoke. In what felt like an explosion of energy, I was propelled upwards, but it wasn't just the escape I had hoped for. Instead of breaking through the surface, I was shot across the ocean floor, propelled toward the wreckage of the ship. No, not them. I screamed out, fighting the currents. I had almost broken free, but now those dark whispers turned into raucous laughter that rang through my mind. They couldn't help you, and you cannot help them, they taunted, each syllable dripping with malice. The remnants of the ship loomed closer, jagged edges piercing the water like the fangs of a beast. I tagged along the broken hull, desperate to glimpse my crew, but only silence met my search. My heart sank as I scanned the debris, a tangle of wreckage and memories. And then I saw it. A flicker of movement, a silhouette. Imogen? I cried, hope clawing back into my chest. It was hard to tell amidst the chaos, but I swam closer, hopeful against reason. As I approached, the figure turned. My heart raced. Was it really Imogen? But as I got closer, dread washed over me. It wasn't her face that stared back. It was distorted, a cruel parody of the woman I knew, with hollow eyes and a mouth curving into a smile that twisted the very essence of her being. Join us, it whispered, its voice a sickening echo of sweet familiarity that a new wave of fury surged through me. Get away from me, I yelled, wrenching myself backward, fighting against the control I felt creeping over me. But the creature was relentless. I combined all my willpower and shoved forward, kicking off the rubble, propelling myself upward again as fast as I could. My lungs screamed for air, but the ocean felt like a tightening noose. Just as I thought I might break free, powerful waves of despair and darkness clawed at me from below. And then it struck, a realization that hit harder than the crushing depths around me. I wasn't just fighting for my life. I was fighting for their souls, the ones I had thought lost. Somehow, amidst this chaos, I had to save them all. But in that moment of realization, something sharp swept through the water, slicing past me, darkness swirling and panic clawing at my insides. Where are you? I gasped, scrambling as I felt the pressure close in again, the whispers returning, now louder than before. In that oceanic abyss, a chilling thought took root. If I failed to fight this time, the fate of my crew might rest in the hands of a force far more sinister than I imagined. And time was running out. Would I find them, or would I succumb to the depths? I didn't know, and that uncertainty haunted me as I was dragged back down into the shadows. Light flickered erratically, pulling me from darkness into a world of chaos. I gasped, lungs burning as my senses jolted awake. I wasn't alone. I blinked against the surging light. Jenna thrashed nearby, panic etched on her face, gasping for air. Jenna! Imogen! The captain! My voice echoed like a cry in the night. I shoved past swirling shadows, struggling against the weight of despair that surrounded us. The shipwreck loomed behind us, a specter of twisted metal and shattered dreams. I was fighting, not just against the darkness, but for their lives. Over here, Jenna's voice rang out, and with every ounce of strength, I moved towards her, adrenaline surging through my veins. Where's the captain? Where's Imogen? I shouted, scanning the chaos around us. We had to find them. We had to escape this nightmare together. Right here. Imogen's voice pierced through the clamor, anchored by determination. She emerged from the shadows, her eyes wild, but alive. The captain is. Before she could finish, a thundering growl coursed through the water, shivering my bones. The creature was back, looming in the darkness, its glow now an unnatural hue, an omen. Fear screamed in the back of my mind, but a steely resolve settled over me. We had faced the abyss, now we had to confront the beast, or be crushed beneath its weight. We need to get to the emergency raft, Jenna yelled, urgency lacing her every word as we rallied together. The water churned violently, as if the ocean itself was alive with rage. I turned, facing the growing shadow behind us. Hold on, I shouted, plunging deeper into the chaos, beckoning my team to follow. As we surged toward the raft, everything around us blurred, time dissolved. The whispers twisted around me, clawing at my resolve. They were calling me, beckoning me to relent. No, I wasn't going to listen. We wouldn't be like the lost souls drifting into forgetfulness. Together, we would make it. Jenna, swim faster. I barked, adrenaline propelling us through the maelstrom. We could do this. We had to. I caught a glimpse of the raft, illuminated by a shimmer of light pushing through the chaos. Just over half a dozen feet away. But the creature surged closer, cloaked in shadows and glimmering tendrils. I felt its eyes bearing down, cold and calculating. Had it been watching us all along, waiting for the moment we faltered? Just then, the raft loomed into view, a sanctuary shining like the moon in a night sky. Almost there, Imogen shouted, teeth clenched, as we propelled forward with determination. Now, grab on, I yelled, reaching for the raft. Jenna lunged first, grabbing the edge and hoisting herself up amidst gasps and desperate movements. I followed, feeling the sharp grip of the metal, the touch of salvation. Imogen was right behind me, the chill of the ocean closing in like a predator, but then it happened. A wave of darkness surged, slamming against the raft, a liquid wall that threatened to drag us back into the abyss. The creature erupted from below, its mass enveloped in luminescence, an alarming beauty wrapped in peril. Hold on, I shouted, gripping the raft with my life, eyes wide in horror at the sheer size of the beast as it hovered above, calculating, waiting, and then it spoke. Not in words, but in concepts that ricocheted through my mind, a message filled with pain, longing, and an ancient sorrow. I felt it resonate, its intensity mingling with my heart, echoing like a song trapped in the sea. With one final roar, it lunged towards us, and I braced myself, instinct kicking in. A force propelled me closer to the creature, an embrace of understanding blooming against the tide. No, I murmured, feeling its pulse against my own. Time slowed. I reached out, fingers trembling as I made contact with the glow radiating from the creature. My mind opened. Its history flowed, lost souls, unearthed despair, the pain of loss and longing resonated deep within. In that moment, I realized it wasn't simply a monster. It was a guardian of ancient secrets, a keeper of the depths, but one that had lost its path in the turmoil. I wasn't intruding. I was part of its story, intertwined in a tale of survival spanning eons. Then the world rippled. The shadows shifted, swirling around us. Whispers transformed into a chorus of understanding, illuminating the darkness. My heart surged, a bridge formed between us, and the creature hesitated, the glimmer of recognition crossing its myriad eyes. Help, I breathed. The word passed over my lips, mingling with its echo. Seconds trembled in our midst, the beast faltered, pausing against the tempest that surrounded the raft. And for one fleeting moment, the water stilled, a sense of peace washing over us. Now, Jenna shouted, her voice snapping through the haze. We surged upward, moving together, the creature's brilliance guiding our escape. We breached the surface. Desperation hung like a thread above us, but we were alive. I cursed air into my lungs, gasping, blinking against the blinding light of dawn as we pulled ourselves fully onto the raft. The ocean, a backdrop of undulating grace, now felt almost serene, whispering familial promises in the wake of uncertainty. Jenna clutched my hand, eyes wide with shared relief. We made it. We actually made it. Imogen sat beside her, breathless. What about the captain? We looked around, searching for the last part of our triad. There was no sign, only echoes of the chaos that had exiled us from the ocean's clutches. Would we ever find him again? But before despair could settle in, the surface of the water shimmered, a flicker drawing our eyes. Shapes danced beneath the glimmer, and there, amid the vastness, a luminescence twinkled, reflective of hope and determination. Without a word, we knew. The ocean was alive. The creature was alive, holding secrets with every pulse. It hadn't just claimed us. It had saved us. And though the weight of loss clung to us both for the unknown fates of the captain and for those who had lost themselves in the abyss, we had found a thread of understanding, a glimpse of connection within the depths. Together, we would face whatever lay ahead. As we drifted, the ocean cradle enveloping us in its embrace, I found comfort in knowing we weren't alone. Time would reveal its traces, and our connection to the shadows carried a deeper truth. We were set adrift, but perhaps it was where we were meant to be all along. And in that moment, in the silent acknowledgement of bravery and kinship restored, I whispered a promise into the morning light. We would uncover the truth together, come what may. Now, as you reach the end of this incredible journey, you need to take action. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will leave you breathless. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others discover these tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. What do you think happened next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.